But Will, I see you got the ring back.
Yeah, that's a good, really, really pretty. I haven't taken it out of my safe very often. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful ring.
Happy opening day. Can't believe we're finally here. Thank you so much for joining us here on our virtual opening night watch party with Hang. Of course, this is all presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We have got the best lineup for you guys for this Astros and White Sox game. It's going to be a really exciting game. We've got Roy Oswalt, Brad Lidge, Dan Wheeler, Will Harris, and of course, the pitching ninja, who also goes by Rob Friedman. But a really, really exciting game for you guys tonight. Again, at this moment, we do have Roy and Brad. I don't know if they want to say hi real quickly to their fans.
I was just checking out Megan the Stallion's first pitch.
I love it. I love Megan. Who doesn't love Megan?
I'll tell you what, it is nice to see Rocket right now on ESPN. Obviously a teammate of Roy and I's for a while, and it's good to see him make an appearance. Still got the frosted tips, which is nice, and looking good, sharp.
How big of a competitor was he?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that separated him is, he had the ability to will things to happen out there when he was pitching. He needed a double play ball. He'd figure out a way to get it. He needed a strikeout. He'd figure out a way to get it. And he'd get pretty amped up if things didn't go his way. So yeah, he'd compete with the best of them.
Pretty much the day he pitched, you didn't get around him. He was on a different level. He had his own little area behind the dugout that he went into, and we call it the cave, the bat cave, and he was intense, big time.
You guys I followed you guys through the early 2000s and all that, but you threw a combined no-hitter at Yankee Stadium, and some champagne shows up in the locker room. The New York paper said it was Steinbrenner, and somebody else said it wasn't. So what's the real story? Thanks a lot.
I was always told that Steinbrenner sent it over, but someone told me, recently that actually our clubhouse secretary, Barry Waters, actually bought it for us. So I don't really know. For 15 years, I thought Steinbrenner bought it.
Yeah, Roy, it's funny you said that because I thought the same thing for a while too, and I heard Barry Waters also was the one that actually did it. And somebody actually asked Steinbrenner that, and I think he said you'd have to be crazy to think I'm going to buy champagne for a team coming in here and no hitting my team. So I don't think that was the case.
Rob, I wanted to get your insights as well on who you think are some of the more underrated pitchers in the league right now.
Well, I mean, underrated. One of the guys we just mentioned is Framber is very underrated to me. I think the Mariners have a pretty underrated staff with Kirby and Gilbert. I mean, Kirby may be one of the most underrated pitchers out there. I mean, if you love pitching, you'd love watching him pitch, but I think he's not a household name yet. So I'd put him up there.
Okay, very cool. Who do you think we should be looking out for?
Oh, and another one. I mean, the Astros have a couple. Astros also have Javier. Christian Javier is filthy and doesn't get nearly the credit he deserves, I think.
So, Brad, what was going through your mind before that last out of the 2008 World Series?
Yeah, so before that, well, first of all, it had been a long season, so it would have been a hell of a time to blow my first save. So that was some of those negative thoughts that can float in your mind. You try and push them away, but honestly, I think the way the season had gone the entire year, I had a real good feeling that it would work out. I mean, there were times during the course of the season where we'd have a 1-run lead and a guy would hit a leadoff triple and somehow get out of it. So I was feeling confident that we had two outs with a runner on second base, and Eric Hinsky, who had actually hit the only time I ever faced him in my career, hit a double off the wall off of me, and on a fastball. So Carlos Ruiz came out, Charlie Manuel came out, our pitching coach Rich Doobie came out. We all met on the mound. All the infielders came in, and they were like, what are you going to do here? And I said, last time I faced this guy, he waffled me and hit one off the wall, and everyone was looking at me like, That's not what we wanted to hear. But, I told him, I was like, so that means what I'm going to do is just keep throwing him sliders until he's out. And so that, Carlos Ruiz never even had to put down a finger. It was just going to be all sliders until he was out. So that's what we did. And it ended up working out, thank God.
Thanks for that wonderful ride, man. That was awesome.
Right on, man.
How do you make sure to fill up your baseball stadiums each time? I know Midwest, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, Red Sox, even up in Northeast, any of those like major like baseball cities, they don't seem to have too much difficulty bringing that energy. But again, you have all these other teams across the United States, and again, if your team's not winning, it's going to be very difficult to fill up those stadiums.
I don't know. I think baseball is trying to make a lot more action happen and hopefully produce a lot more excitement. I think I saw a question about the rule changes somewhere in there, but it's going to make the action a little bit tighter this year, and it'll make the games a little bit more exciting. I think MLB is going to at least achieve what it wants by having quicker games, more action. More stolen bases potentially, and the balls put in play and everything else. So we'll see what happens. But I guess my short answer is you can't recreate drama of 6 years waiting for a World Baseball Classic and then having, a win or go home scenario.
What was your favorite moment of the World Baseball Classic tournament this past, earlier this year?
Yeah, I don't think they could have drawn up that last out any better of the World Baseball. I'd actually, I talked to the MLB guys, some of the front office guys about that. I was like, how did you get that? How did you set it up that you were going to have Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani, two teammates, great players, face off against each other? And said, you wouldn't believe the conspiracy that was involved in that. We had to convince everybody to set it up that way. Well, I was going to ask about some breaking ball grips from Roy and Brad and Dan and everybody. So just so everybody can see what your thought process is when you're throwing them.
Yeah, I threw two different breaking balls, curveballs. I threw two different curveballs. I threw one that was a spike curveball if I wanted to throw it, 80, 81 miles an hour, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then I really choked the grip on my slower curveball. I put it real far back in my hand, really concentrate about the 12-6 spin. My whole thing was if I could keep it on the same plane going toward the plate, but also kill 30 miles per hour off the pitch. Guys they can't sit back, because I could throw hard enough where you had to sit on fastball. You're sitting on 95 and you get 70. You're going to be out in front of it. So I wouldn't say I was just a great strikeout pitcher. I was all about trying to get a guy out front and try to get a ground ball. But I threw a hard one when I wanted to throw it hard by spiking it, like this. And then I threw one, I choked it really deep in my hand to knock the speed off of it, but still had the same plane on it.
And did you
spin rate? Go ahead. Spin rate has been around. They talk about spin rate, but we did the same thing. It just wasn't measured back then.
That's right.
My whole thing was to spin it as hard as I could spin it, but we didn't have a camera that could tell you how many times it's spun over or whatever. But it's always been there.
That curveball he threw that was about 30 miles an hour off of his fastball. We actually had our minor league pitching coordinator at the time, Dewey Robinson, who I have a lot of respect for, and he helped me a ton. Yeah, I used to throw a curveball, and he taught me my slider. But he always used to say, he's like, oh, that curveball that Roy throws, that's not going to work in the major leagues because it's too slow. And we were always like, what do you mean it's too slow? He's like, oh, the hitters will reload on it and they'll be able to hit it. And obviously come to find out that that actually was not the case, that the curveball Roy threw, obviously hitters just couldn't sit. You can't sit back that much. And they had to respect Roy's, mid upper 90s fastball. So I don't know. I always thought that was funny, but Roy spun the hell out of it. But I was kind of the same way with my slider. I basically had two. One, I try and throw early in the count for a strike, and I would spin it. I would just try and keep kind of a tight form on it and have it be more of a traditional slider early in the count, and just try and get it in there for a strike. And then as soon as I got ahead of the hitter, because I knew if I could show them one for a strike, they're way more apt to swing at the second one. And so the second one I threw, I would just try and go down about, vertically about a foot and try and start it over home plate and really try and get over the top of it and really just try and make it have, that top spin on it instead of the traditional slider spin, which I might throw early. I try and throw that harder one with more spin late in the count, 0-2, 1-2. And, I see a lot of guys today try and throw a slider that starts on the outer part of the plate and breaks away. But hitters, a lot of times, if they're throwing away to a fastball, then they throw a slider away. The hitters will sometimes take it. But if you can throw a slider that starts, I always tell this to guys I still coach, high school or college or whatever. But if you can start a slider that starts just across the knees and you can get on top of it a little bit more and make it have that vertical action, the hitter will commit to it because they're not thinking, as much about diving away and maybe holding up. They're thinking, if he's attacking me at the bottom of the zone with a fastball, I've got to swing. So I always kind of tried to have two of those as well.
Interesting. You made a great point on Roy's slower curve, because I know Devin Williams is airbender changeup, that one.
Yeah.
He was told in the minor leagues that wasn't going to play because it had too much spin on it. And it's probably the most deadly pitch in the major leagues. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't think you can have too much spin, and I don't think you can take enough as long as your arm action is the same. I mean, with Roy's curveball, I used to see hitters so far out on their front foot, they literally would just kind of throw their bat at Roy's curveball. By the time it got to home plate, they had nothing left. It was just all front foot.
I think the biggest thing, on all those pitches is I could understand if the curveball went up first when it comes out of your hand to get to the plate. So guys are going to recognize it going up. But if you can keep that straight, straight action on your curveball, where when it comes out of your hand, you think fastball, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, it's curveball. You just can't. When you start slowing your body down, and you have to kind of melt on your front side, you have no power. So all I'm trying to do is get him hit it off the end of the bat, get me a ground ball, first, second pitch, or whatever, and I'm out. I'm out in and quick, 7 or 10 pitches, and that's, when I first come up, nobody really knew about it, so I struck out a lot of guys early in my. They couldn't sit back; they would swing at it, and it would be halfway there. But later in the career, I had to come out with a little harder one to get guys kind of off of it late in the counts and stuff like that. I could throw it early and get a front pitch, quick pitch out, but later in the count, sometimes I'd come back with a hard one for a strikeout.
Did your long stride help with getting the ball on people, make them have to make a decision quickly?
Yes, I think my mechanics action going toward the plate really quick, kind of jumping at them, it kind of threw them off balance some. They was kind of antsy, and I think that's one of the reasons I didn't have a great slider too. My stride length was so far, it was really hard for me to get over the top of a slider and have a true 1-7 slider like Brad had. I couldn't get that ball to go down. I could get it to go across, but I couldn't get it to go down. And I just used that slider as a, first pitch strike or something just to show it. I probably only threw it 10 or 12 times a game, but I relied on my fastball curveball to get guys out when I needed it.
I can add a little bit to the whole curveball thing, and because I threw two different ones. Well, not two different curveballs, but I threw a curveball and a slider, which I ended up turning my slider into a cutter. And the main thing is, it's that finger pressure that you have. For me, at least, was on the middle finger, and I would grip on the horseshoe. And just to kind of echo what Roy said, I mean, you gotta really make sure that you keep your arm speed up on the off speed, because and I do coach high school, and some of these kids think that they, just because it's an off speed pitch, they have to slow everything down. But the idea behind it is to keep your same arm speed going, and that's what's going to really fool and get that pitch to the best that you can. So I would always kind of think with my curveball, I would want to drive that my middle finger through on the seam and just kind of pull it down between me and the catcher.
It's interesting that you put the ball deeper in your hand to take speed off, because Brent Strom actually put it deeper in my hand to add velocity. So because then my curveball was always like 78 to 80, and then he asked me actually to choke it a little bit more and it actually added like 3 to 4 miles an hour once I came over to Houston. So,
Wow.
very, very interesting for it to have opposite effects depending on the pitcher.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I felt like, I mean, to me, your power fingers are your two first fingers to get velocity on the fastball to get four seam spin. So when anything that was further out, I could, more power. But anytime I choked the ball, and it would kill the speed. Even on my changeup, for a long time, beginning of my career, I threw my changeup too hard. I throw it 87, and guys would hit a double down the line. Right-hand hitter hit a double down the line. I'm like, if I could get, another 5 miles per hour off of it, and they tried to work with me about dragging my foot and killing speed that way and all that. That's hard to remember when you're in a game because you're trying to keep your mechanics exactly the same. So I actually did my changeup the same way. I actually moved 2 fingers over, and I choked it really far back with my last two, my pinky finger and my other ring finger. And I started killing it to 80, 81, and I was getting a lot more, swing over the top, misses on it.
All right, guys, I want to remind everybody that this call is made possible by Academy Sports and Outdoors. So a big thank you to them. And with the Astros coming off their World Series title, we want to ask the Hang team to please pull up a graphic because I want to show you guys something pretty cool. So Academy is helping fans relive the excitement with the special edition Astros Gold collection gear that is available at Academy Sports and Outdoors beginning on April 1st. You can stop by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com. And I want to ask the first trivia question that again is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors again. So the first question is actually going to give the winner $100 Academy gift card. It looks just like this. And the first question is, what do Roy Oswalt, Brad Lidge, and Will Harris all have in common? Is it A, they all went to the same school, B, they pitched together for the Astros, C, they each were part of a combined no-hitter while in an Astros uniform, or D, they each hit a home run in their career? Oh, and it looks like we have a winner. It is Jose F. So congrats to Jose. You will be getting a $100 Academy gift card. Again, this entire call is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. So a big thank you to them. We will be giving away an autographed ball from Dan Wheeler and Roy Oswalt. Dan, I think you actually have a baseball with you right now that you can sign for us, right?
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. So I'll sign it right here from Academy Sports. So there it is. I don't know. Maybe it's upside down. I don't know.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for that.
Hey guys, Roy and Brad, I know you guys got to go soon. I just had a quick question for you guys, which is Roy, Brad, and Dan. You all pitched to Brad Ausmus when you were Houston, and obviously, I've always thought catchers would probably make the best managers. But from your experience, being a teammate and battery mate with him, did you see it at the time that he'd kind of have managerial chops? And obviously, he's not managing a team right now, but do you think he's going to go on and have a solid managerial career?
We would always get those questionnaires or something like, who do you think's a player that could be a manager someday? And I always wrote down Brad Austin. I just felt like he's got a great baseball IQ. He was able to manage to keep us under control, especially us bullpen guys out there. So he did a great job of managing the game, as a catcher. And there was no doubt that I thought that he was going to be, and he still could, one of the, a great asset to a team. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. He certainly, knew how to take control of the team when he was, behind the plate, can take control of all the pitchers. And, I think just his first run as a manager with the Tigers, I just, from what I saw, he ran into a lot of bad luck. A lot of guys came over and, it's not easy to pitch out of the bullpen, but he had some real talented guys there that just maybe didn't, for whatever reason, didn't have their best seasons out there in Detroit. And I think, he just kind of got stuck with a rough year or two. I don't think that reflects negatively on him as a manager, though. I think he absolutely knows what he's doing. And when he kind of had a couple years in and the game started pivoting to even younger dudes for a little bit, I think it wasn't, the most beneficial thing for him. But I know he's still trying to manage. I know he's still trying to get involved with front offices, and I think he's great for the game of baseball in some capacity. But he's smart enough to do either thing. He could be a general manager, which he interviewed for this winter. Or he could be a regular manager on the field and take control. He could do either one well.
I thought Beltran, Carlos Beltran, would have been a great guy, and some things went wrong with him on the first job he got offered. But I always thought he was a guy that really knew the game well. He spoke both languages, which is great in the big leagues today. He could communicate real good with the guys, and real humble guy. Knew the game well. I thought he would be a great one.
Some of my earliest memories was watching you shake your glove every time when you came set. What was the purpose of that? Were you just trying to be consistent in not tipping off pitches, or was that just a mannerism of yours?
That's exactly what it was. Not tip off pitches, and it actually began because, is oddly enough, Brad Lidge. He had done he was doing something where he was tipping his pitches in I believe it was 05 or somewhere around there. And I might have done it a little bit prior, but then it was like when he was tipping pitches, and to me, if Brad, those couple of years that he had, like 04, and 04 when I got traded over there, I think he set a National League strikeout record with 150 something as a reliever, which was, it blew me away just how good he was. But he was tipping pitches, and then okay, so I'm like, if he can get hit, then in my mind, then I definitely could get hit, so that's kind of how that whole thing started for me. I didn't expect to kind of go to where it went. And now that I think about it, I don't even know if I'd get a pitch in time for the shot clock. So
this has been awesome. It's like hearing pitchers talk pitching is like hearing the guitarist talk guitar licks or something. So this has been fantastic. Thank y'all.
As a reminder, Academy Sports and Outdoors is helping us put this call together. So they are helping fans relive the excitement with a special edition Astros Gold Collection gear that is available. There we go. You can see it right there. It is available at Academy Sports and Outdoors on April 1st. So you can make sure to stop by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com. Again, the special edition Astros Gold Collection gear is available at your local Academy store. You can get it online. It all can be found beginning on April 1st. So I love that. And then, Will, I know you were part of the 2017 championship team. Do you think they can repeat this year?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do for sure. But the Astros obviously are used to winning. It's the culture there, so it's every time they come to the ballpark, they're expecting to win. I think that's something that shouldn't be taken for granted. Just the amount of wins that they get in the regular season. So yeah, absolutely. With their pitching staff, obviously their lineup, adding Abreu. I think once Michael Brantley gets back, that'll be a really, really big boost to them. He's a pro's pro and a great guy, and he's a great clubhouse guy. So yeah, I don't see why not. It's hard. You're talking a lot of these teams have added a lot of pieces. It seems like nowadays there's like a magnet for all the talented players kind of have made their way to a few teams. So once the postseason starts, anything can happen. But obviously, I like their chances as always.
So the WBC, I don't know if I'm sure you guys saw the story. The 21-year-old right-hander that struck out Soto, Rodriguez, and Devers. What are y'all's thoughts on the WBC giving these young guys opportunities like that, for this feel-good, like Cinderella story?
I think it's great. These kids are getting opportunities that they may never have gotten an opportunity because of this. And honestly, and that's the idea, is like whenever you do get a chance, you got to try to do everything you can to put yourself in a position to win. And this kid did that, and it's exciting. I think it's absolutely great for the game. I really do. So, and I actually, really enjoyed watching the WBC. I thought it was a lot of fun. And honestly, you told me it was going to end like it did, I'd call you a liar. But like just, with Otani going up against Trout, I mean, all the joke of, oh, it's scripted, but I mean, how is that possible? And what an amazing run. And I think it just ended. And obviously I was hoping the USA would win, USA guy, but it was great for the game. That was awesome.
Awesome, guys. Thank you guys for letting me ask the question. I got to get to work. I just want to say go Cards, and I was hoping Yachty took it with Puerto Rico, baby. You guys have a good night.
Trivia questions are presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, and the winner of this will be contacted by our Hang support team. So the question is, which pitcher on today's Hang threw an immaculate inning while with the Astros? Is it A, Brad Lidge, B, Will Harris, C, Roy Oswalt, D, Dan Wheeler? The winner of this question will get a $100 Academy gift card. It looks just like this. Again, the question is, which pitcher on today's Hang threw an immaculate inning while with the Astros? A, Brad Lidge, B, Will Harris, C, Roy Oswalt, or D, Dan Wheeler? Oh, it looks like Ron M., you are the winner.
First of all, this has been really fun. Thanks to Hang, thanks Academy. I was wondering, we're obviously all chilling here. I was wondering, and I should have asked this when Brad was here too, but what's it like in the bullpen where, for 5 or 6 or 7 innings, depending on how the starter's doing, you're kind of just hanging around and chilling. And then, bullpen coach calls us like, hey, get up, warm up. But like, what happens in those bullpens? Like, do you become really close with the other relievers on that team just because for, 70% of every game, you're just sitting there in the outfield watching the game, just chatting? Or what's it like in those bullpens?
To me, those are the days that I miss the most. Just hanging out with the bullpen guys. We were lucky in Houston. We had a good group of guys, and that was led by Russ Springer. And we did pretty much everything together. We went to lunch together. It was a standing on the road. We had a 12 o'clock. If you want to go eat with us, and most every day, every bullpen guy was there, except if their wife or somebody was in town. But we would go work out together. We go to the field together, and we were really a close knit group, which I think that's what made us so good. Because I mean, we generally cared about each other, and for the first 4 or 5 innings, we'd mess around with each other, keep it light and try to stay as relaxed as possible. I mean, I think we had a little game that we would try to flick pumpkin seeds into like the irrigation, little hole out there. So it was. Just to kind of not get too serious, but then when it hit a certain time in the game, that's when we had to kind of flick the switch and say, okay, because everyone has a role, so you kind of expect to pitch when you expect to pitch, and but after that, you just want to just be there to support and help, and make sure that everyone's ready to go.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I mean, every bullpen I've ever been in, you kind of are your own little, group. You're not separated from everybody else, but because you spend so much time, so much downtime, you stretch before everybody else a lot of days. You condition before, on your own and together. And so there's relationships that are just natural that occur, and it's keep it light. Everybody down the bullpen, you're keeping it light. You're focused. I think bullpen relievers have like this weird superpower where you can joke around and still you could probably account for every pitch that was thrown during the game and how a guy got out. And it just became like a second nature thing that I could talk about something had nothing to do with baseball and yet still know that, Cano swung at that 0-2 curveball in the dirt. It just was one of those things that became just second nature to all of us. And the relationships down there, obviously, it's the same thing with Dan. He still talked to all these guys on a probably pretty consistent basis and text them. And yeah, it was great times all the way around.
We also want to thank Academy Sports and Outdoors for making this event possible, of course, from sports gear, outdoor furniture, and grills to hunting and fishing equipment. Make sure to stop by your local Academy this spring for everything you need to have more fun doing the things you love. And of course, we've got some upcoming hangs as well. Do not forget, we'll be hanging tomorrow night with several college hoops and WNBA stars for the Iowa and South Carolina game. So make sure to go to let'shang.live to get your free tickets today. Will and Dan, thank you again for everything, you guys.